In this world of constant noise, of social media chatter, of endless opinions and unsolicited advice, we've lost touch with the most of our own. We've become so accustomed to the noise that we've forgotten how to listen to ourselves. And that, my friends, is a tragedy. When you focus on yourself, you're not being selfish. No, you're investing in the most important asset you'll ever have. You're taking the time to understand your thoughts, your desires, your strengths, and yes, even your weaknesses. You're giving yourself the gift of self-awareness. And let me tell you, that's a gift that keeps on giving. Now let's talk about silence. In our world today, silence is often seen as uncomfortable, even scary. We fill every moment with noise, with chatter, with the endless scroll of our phones. But silence, my friends, is where the magic happens. It's in the silence that we can hear our own thoughts, that we can connect with our deepest desires and our highest aspirations. Think about it. When was the last time you sat in complete silence without any distractions and just listened to your own thoughts? If you're like most people, it's probably been a while. And that's a shame, because in that silence lies the key to your personal growth and success. You see, when you focus on yourself and stay silent, you're creating the perfect environment for personal growth. You're giving yourself the space to reflect, to plan, to dream. You're allowing yourself to hear your own inner wisdom, that voice that knows what's best for you, even when you think you don't. Now, I'm not saying you should become a hermit, cut off from the world. Far from it. What I'm saying is that you need to create balance. You need to carve out time in your day, every day, to focus on yourself and to embrace silence. Because it's in those moments that you'll find your true path. Let me give you an example. I once knew a young man, let's call him Tom. Tom was always busy, always surrounded by people, always talking. He was successful in his career, had a wide circle of friends, and from the outside it looked like he had it all figured out. But inside, Tom was lost. He didn't know what he really wanted, what truly made him happy. He was so busy listening to everyone else's opinions and advice that he'd lost touch with his own voice. One day, Tom decided to take a week off. He went to a cabin in the woods alone. No phone, no internet, no distractions, just Tom and his thoughts. Now, the first couple of days were tough for blood. Tom wasn't used to the silence. He felt antsy, uncomfortable. But as the days went by, something started to change. In the silence, Tom started to hear his own thoughts clearly for the first time in years. He started to reconnect with his passions, his dreams, the things that truly mattered to him. By the end of that week, Tom had gained more clarity about his life and his goals than he had in the previous 5 years combined. He came back a changed man. He started making decisions based on what he truly wanted, not what others expected of him. He started pursuing his real passions, not just what looked good on paper. And you know what? His life transformed. He became happier, more fulfilled, more successful in ways that actually mattered to him. That's the power of focusing on yourself and staying silent. It gives you the clarity you need to make the right decisions for your life. Not the decisions others think you should make, but the ones that align with your true self. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, but Jim, I don't have time for silence. I'm too busy. And to that I say you don't have time not to have silence. You see, when you're constantly busy, constantly surrounded by noise, you're like a hamster on a wheel. You're expending a lot of energy, but you're not really going anywhere. You're reacting to life instead of creating your life. When you take the time to focus on yourself and embrace silence, you're stepping off that hamster wheel. You're giving yourself the chance to see the bigger picture, to plot your course, to make sure you're running in the right direction. And let me tell you, that's a much more efficient use of your time and energy. Think about it this way. Imagine you're trying to drive to a new destination, but you never take the time to look at a map or plan your route. You just keep driving, hoping you'll eventually get there. Sure, you might eventually reach your destination, but how much time and energy will you waste along the way? How many wrong turns will you take? How much frustration will you experience? Now imagine instead that you take a few minutes to sit quietly, look at the map, plan your route. You might spend a little time up front, but in the long run, you'll save yourself hours of wasted time and energy. That's what focusing on yourself and staying silent does for your life. It gives you the clarity to plot your course and the energy to follow through. But here's the thing. Focusing on yourself and staying silent isn't a one-time event. It's not something you do once and then you're set for life. No, it's a practice. It's something you need to do regularly, consistently, to reap the full benefits. Think of it like exercise. You wouldn't expect to go to the gym once and suddenly be in the best shape of your life, would you? Of course not. You understand that physical fitness requires regular, consistent effort. Well, the same is true for your mental and emotional fitness. Focusing on yourself and staying silent is like a workout for your mind and soul. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Jim, this sounds great in theory, but how do I actually do this in practice? How do I focus on myself and stay silent in a world that seems designed to distract me? Well, I'm glad you asked, because that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. We're going to discuss practical strategies for incorporating this practice into your daily life, no matter how busy you are. First, let's talk about creating a daily silence ritual. This is a set time each day where you commit to being silent and focusing on yourself. Now, I'm not talking about hours here. Even just 15 minutes a day can make a huge difference. The key is consistency. Find a time that works for you. Maybe it's first thing in the morning before the rest of the world wakes up. Maybe it's during your lunch break. Maybe it's right before you go to bed. The timing doesn't matter as much as the consistency. Pick a time and stick to it. During this time, turn off all distractions. No phone, no TV, no music. Just you and your thoughts. You might find it helpful to journal during this time, to write down your thoughts and reflections. Or you might prefer to simply sit and breathe, allowing your thoughts to come and go without judgment. Now, at first, this might feel uncomfortable. We're so used to constant stimulation that silence can feel almost painful. But stick with it. Like any new habit, it gets easier with practice. And the benefits are worth the initial discomfort. Next, let's talk about the importance of saying no. You see, focusing on yourself often means saying no to others. And for many of us, that's not easy. We're taught to be helpful, to be accommodating. But here's the truth. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your goals and values, you're saying no to yourself. Learning to say no is a crucial skill if you want to focus on yourself. It's about setting boundaries, about valuing your time and energy. Remember, you are the author of your life. You get to decide how you spend your time and energy. Don't give that power away to others. Now, this doesn't mean you become selfish or uncaring. Far from it. When you focus on yourself, when you're clear about your goals and values, you actually become more valuable to others. You're able to give from a place of fullness rather than depletion. Think about it like this. If you're on an airplane and the oxygen masks drop, what are you instructed to do? Put your own mask on first before helping others. Why? Because if you run out of oxygen, you can't help anyone else. The same principle applies in life. When you take care of yourself first, you're in a much better position to help others. Next, let's talk about the power of reflection. Reflection is a key component of focusing on yourself. It's about taking the time to review your experiences, to learn from them, to consider how you can improve. Many successful people have a daily reflection practice. They take time each day to review what went well, what didn't go so well, and what they learned. This practice allows them to continually grow and improve. Now, reflection doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as asking yourself a few key questions each day. Questions like, what did I learn today? What am I grateful for? What could I have done better? How did I move closer to my goals? By consistently asking yourself these questions, you're training yourself to focus on what's important. You're creating a habit of self-awareness and continuous improvement. Now, let's talk about the importance of defining your own success. You see, in our society, we're often given a very narrow definition of success. It's usually about money, status, possessions. But here's the truth. True success is deeply personal. It's about living a life that aligns with your values, that fulfills you on a deep level. When you focus on yourself, you give yourself the opportunity to define what success means to you. Maybe for you, success is about having a positive impact on others. Maybe it's about constantly learning and growing. Maybe it's about creating beautiful art. Whatever it is, it's unique to you. And here's the thing, when you're clear about what success means to you, you're much more likely to achieve it. You're no longer chasing someone else's definition of success. You're pursuing what truly matters to you. Now, let's talk about the role of silence in decision making. In our fast-paced world, we're often pressured to make quick decisions. But the best decisions, the ones that align with our true selves, often require time and silence. When you're faced with a big decision, resist the urge to decide immediately. Instead, create space for silence. Allow yourself to sit with the decision. Often in that silence, the right answer will become clear. You see, our intuition, our inner wisdom often speaks to us in whispers, and in the noise of everyday life, it's easy to miss those whispers. But in silence, we can hear them clearly. Next, let's talk about the importance of self-education. When you focus on yourself, you take responsibility for your own growth and learning. You don't wait for others to teach you or for opportunities to fall into your lap. You actively seek out knowledge and experiences that will help you grow. Reading is one of the most powerful tools for self-education. When you read, you're essentially having a conversation with the author. You're exposing yourself to new ideas, new perspectives. And in the silence of reading, you have the opportunity to reflect on these ideas, to consider how they apply to your life. But self-education isn't just about reading books. It's about being curious, about asking questions, about seeking out new experiences. It's about being willing to step out of your comfort zone and try new things. Now let's talk about the power of visualization. When you focus on yourself and embrace silence, you create the perfect conditions for visualization. Visualization is a powerful tool for achieving your goals. It's about creating a clear, vivid mental image of what you want to achieve. When you visualize, you're essentially programming your subconscious mind. You're creating a blueprint for success. And when you combine visualization with action, you become unstoppable. Take a few minutes each day to visualize your goals. See yourself achieving them. Feel the emotions you'll feel when you succeed. The more vivid and detailed your visualization, the more powerful it will be. Next, let's talk about the importance of self-compassion. When you focus on yourself, it's easy to become critical. You might start noticing all the ways you fall short, all the areas where you need to improve. And while self-awareness is important, it needs to be balanced with self-compassion. Self-compassion is about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a good friend. It's about recognizing that you're human, that you'll make mistakes, and that's okay. It's about learning from your mistakes rather than beating yourself up over them. When you practice self-compassion, you create a safe space for growth. You're more likely to take risks, to try new things, because you know that even if you fail, you'll treat yourself with kindness. Now, let's talk about the role of silence in creativity. Many of the world's greatest inventions and works of art were born in moments of silence. When we're constantly bombarded with noise and information, it's hard for new ideas to emerge. But in silence, our minds are free to wander, to make new connections, to come up with innovative solutions. If you're facing a challenge or working on a creative project, try spending some time in silence. You might be surprised at the ideas that emerge when you give your mind the space to roam freely. Next, let's discuss the importance of aligning your actions with your values. When you focus on yourself, you become clear about what truly matters to you. You identify your core values, but knowing your values isn't enough. You need to live them. Take some time to identify your core values. What principles do you want to guide your life? Once you're clear on your values, look at your daily actions. Are they in alignment with your values? If not, what changes do you need to make? Living in alignment with your values brings a sense of integrity and fulfillment. It's about being true to yourself, about living authentically. Now, let's talk about the power of solitude. Solitude is different from loneliness. Loneliness is a negative state, a feeling of disconnection. Solitude, on the other hand, is a positive state. It's about choosing to be alone, to disconnect from others temporarily so you can connect more deeply with yourself. In our hyper-connected world, true solitude is rare. We're constantly connected to others through our devices. But solitude is essential for deep thinking, for self-discovery, for recharging our mental and emotional batteries. Try to incorporate periods of solitude into your life. It might be a solo walk in nature, a weekend retreat, or even just an hour in a quiet room with no distractions. Use this time to reflect, to dream, to connect with your inner self. Next, let's discuss the importance of setting intentions. When you focus on yourself, you become more intentional about your life. Instead of just letting life happen to you, you start actively shaping your experiences. Setting intentions is different from setting goals. Goals are about achieving specific outcomes. Intentions are about how you want to be, how you want to show up in the world. Start each day by setting an intention. It might be something like today, I intend to be patient, or today, I intend to be fully present in my conversations. By setting intentions, you're creating a framework for your day. You're deciding in advance how you want to approach your experiences. Now let's talk about the role of silence and listening. When we think of communication, we often focus on speaking. But listening is equally, if not more important. And true listening requires silence. When you're in conversation with others, practice being silent. Really listen to what they're saying. But don't just wait for your turn to speak. Try to understand their perspective, their feelings. This kind of deep listening not only improves your relationships, but it also gives you valuable insights and information. Next, let's discuss the importance of journaling. Journaling is a powerful tool for self-discovery and personal growth. It's a way to have a conversation with yourself, to explore your thoughts and feelings in a safe, private space. When you journal, you're creating a record of your journey. You're able to look back and see how you've grown, what you've learned. You're able to spot patterns in your thinking and behavior. And often the act of writing itself brings clarity. As you write, you might find solutions to problems or gain new insights about yourself. Now, let's talk about the power of gratitude. When you focus on yourself, it's important to cultivate a sense of gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what you lack to what you have. It's about appreciating the good in your life, no matter how small. Take time each day to reflect on what you're grateful for. It might be something as simple as a good cup of coffee, or as profound as a loving relationship. By cultivating gratitude, you're training your mind to focus on the positive, and what you focus on grows. Next, let's discuss the importance of self-care. When you focus on yourself, you recognize the importance of taking care of your physical, mental, and emotional health. Self-care isn't selfish, it's essential. It's about maintaining your well-being so you can show up fully in your life. Self-care looks different for everyone. For some it might be exercise. For others it might be meditation or a hobby. The key is to identify what truly nourishes you and to make time for it regularly. Now let's talk about the role of silence in problem solving. When we're faced with a problem, our first instinct is often to jump into action, to start brainstorming solutions immediately. But often the best solutions come when we allow ourselves to be silent to sit with the problem. In that silence, our subconscious mind can work on the problem, making connections and coming up with innovative solutions that we might not have thought of in the noise of active problem solving. Next, let's discuss the importance of authenticity. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, you create space to connect with your authentic self. In a world that often pressures us to conform, to be like everyone else, staying true to yourself is a radical act. It's about having the courage to be who you really are, to express your unique gifts and perspectives. Now, let's talk about the power of mindfulness. Mindfulness is about being fully present in the moment without judgment. It's a state of active, open attention to the present. When you practice mindfulness, you're focusing on yourself in the deepest sense. You're tuning into your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations. You're observing your experience without getting caught up in it. Let's discuss the role of silence in creativity. Many of the world's greatest inventions and works of art were born in moments of silence. When we're constantly bombarded with noise and information, it's hard for new ideas to emerge. But in silence, our minds are free to wander, to make new connections, to come up with innovative solutions. In conclusion, focusing on yourself and staying silent is not about isolation or selfishness. It's about creating the space you need to grow, to understand yourself, to connect with your authentic self. It's about tuning out the noise of the world so you can hear your own inner wisdom. It's a practice that can transform your life, bringing you greater clarity, purpose, and fulfillment. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Start small. Commit to spending just a few minutes each day in silence, focusing on yourself. As you experience the benefits, you'll naturally want to expand this practice. And as you do, you'll find yourself growing in ways you never imagined possible. Ladies and gentlemen, the power to change your life, to achieve your dreams, to become the person you were meant to be, it all starts with you. It starts with focusing on yourself and embracing the power of silence. So I challenge you, starting today, make time for yourself. Make time for silence. Your future self will thank you.